outside dinner. Got the coals heating up. Looks like they're actually about ready.
Whoa. This is new. This is nice.
So, our first course is going to be, we're going to make these into toasts. I could say to toast them on. And then mix this all together. This is cheese, breadcrumbs, and butter.
Okay.
We're going to put it into here and melt it a bit.
Okay.
And we're going to put it on top of the toast.
Oh, and you already got charcoals going?
Mm-hmm. They're there. There's more over there.
Oh, wow.
And it's called a Welsh Rabbit. I have no idea why. But I think it should go great with beer if we make it successfully.
Okay. You might want to push the charcoals underneath the pan. Ones along the back wall.
Yeah, but I want to get...
Just because you got a bare spot on the one side and there's one on the other side and one back out the other. There you go.
Okay.
Yeah, because there's not any on this side, so that's...
Which side?
Yeah, I think you're good there.
All right. Hopefully this is getting hot.
I see.
Probably don't have enough cheese.
It didn't look like much. It mostly looks like breadcrumbs.
I need more cheese.
A lot more cheese.
I prefer a block, which I could shred.
Yeah. Adding more cheese.
All right. Well, this has been cooking for a little while.
It's starting to melt, yeah. Looks like you can use a little more meltage. Nothing wrong with burnt
It's
bread.
just a
I'm
little.
just saying it's just not cooked.
It's not.
Just like
It's not toast.
no,
But
not toasted yet.
not toasted yet.
Okay. There we go.
We're searing the pork over the fire pit because it didn't seem to be working over the Dutch oven coals. Maybe they didn't have enough coals, maybe they're not good coals, maybe it just wasn't getting hot enough. It's not that hot right now. But Bill got a nice little fire going here in the fire pit.
Let's see what this looks like. Ooh, looky. Yeah, we can sear a little more.
And they're slowly beginning to brown. Once we get them browned up, we'll get the gravy going and hopefully get the whole thing cooking at a good hot temperature. And 40 minutes after that, we'll have pork a la Normande. Cooking over fire is tough. We've added.
Yeah, it's boiling. It's boiling really good now.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's boiling real good.
We've got our gravy cooking and simmering it slightly. We'll let that simmer down a little bit.
Oh, that looks great, Ken. Look at that.
And
charcoals are hot, too.
charcoals are good and warm.
Ooh, that looks beautiful.
We'll put the lid on, we'll put some charcoals on top, and we'll let this
do it.
cook for a half hour, 40 minutes.
Yeah. Let's go. This is going to be yummy. Oh, this is your Dutch oven that you got at REI.
Yes.
Okay.
So put a bunch of coals there on the top. Just cover up the top.
This is the first time I get to try this. Enough to cover the entire top?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Doesn't have to be totally covered, but be pretty good.
Those are raw. Look how glowing they are.
Yeah.
You see them? They look nice. Ooh, ooh, ooh.
Lost one.
Come on back, buddy. Join the crowd here. Okay.
Now, if this was a traditional camp oven, that lid would actually have a flange on it, so they wouldn't fall off like that.
Yeah, this is the problem. I'm like,
and I'm getting a little Dutch oven with a flange.
well,
It's
that,
not here yet. It'll be a little smaller than this one, though.
carefully.
It's okay if the top has a few more in the bottom because the heat has further to travel than the bottom.
Okay. Now I'd say it's pretty close. Pretty close to even.
All right. Well.
Yeah, it's pretty close to even
All
now.
right. There's a rule of thumb that says it should be 1/3 and 2/3, but
I can't.
This
They're
case,
gonna fall
I know.
off.
I know.
That's my issue now.
I think we're fine.
Yep.
Oh, that smells good. So we've been cooking for about a half an hour. We're gonna take the lid off, see how we're doing.
Oh wow! Look at that, Ken. Drop it down there. Look at that! It cooked all the way down.
It cooked down a lot.
Look at that.
Oh, it smells good. It smells real good. Okay,
Stir it.
give it a stir.
Wow. Yeah, I would just cook off some of that
Let's
moisture.
cook off some of the moisture off, and then we'll try it.
What?
Oh, way to check if it's
Look
out.
Look at the gravy. That looks beautiful,
It's
Ken.
very pretty gravy. I don't want to. I mean, a way to test how if a meat is done is to push on the meat, but it's probably really hot right now. Give it a little of that pork piece of.
Oh,
push.
it's done. You see that?
Oh yeah, that's done. Yeah, never mind.
Whoa.
All right, let's let that cook down a little bit.
Let's just let it cook down a little bit.
and then we will give it an eat.
Yeah, I barely pressed on that. Did you see that? There you go.
We've taken our pork a la Normande off the Dutch oven, off the heat. We've both had our first bites.
Oh.
So, Lil,
From the vegetarian.
from the vegetarian, what does she think?
Amazing. Ken, you're such a good cook.
This has turned out really well. Neither of us actually has noticed the apples in here yet. But
You can't detect them at all, but obviously
the flavors
is
in the pork
even.
are great. I haven't noticed the onion that much either.
The onion's in there, yeah.
The onion's in there. I haven't really.
And you can also, there's still crunchy onions in there. There's a slight crunch to the onions.
Nice, good red onions.
Mm-hmm.
So I call this a definite success.
Wow. Wow, Ken. Man.
I should have recorded these after dinner thoughts right after the dinner, but this morning will do. It was, as I hope you can tell, a very good dinner. Each course was better than the previous one. And I'll talk just a little bit about those courses now. You'll be able to find a whole lot more information about each course of the dinner on my blog, which I'll provide a link to in the video description below. The Welsh Rabbit, sometimes called Welsh Rarebit, was certainly all eaten and good enough, but it could have been so much more. The real problem, as noted, was way too much breadcrumb. These were breadcrumbs I just made here at home. I never seemed to be able to get the Pamco breadcrumbs, so I just made my own in a toaster oven by taking slices of bread, baking them at about 400 or so degrees for about 10 minutes, and then crumbling them up, though nowhere near as fine as the breadcrumbs you would buy in a store. I could have ground them up better than I did, but even so, there were just too many of them. So probably cut that down by at least half, and I think that would have made for a much better dish. The amount of cheese was probably about right for 2 people. The egg rolls were cooked totally modern, and they'd actually been cooked ahead of time. I used a microwave to cook the ingredients, the potatoes, cabbage, and carrot. You'd normally boil those or steam them, probably. But the microwave was quick and convenient. It took about 8 minutes. I imagine actually steaming probably takes a little less time, but be that as it may. And then I baked the egg rolls at about 425 degrees for about 11 or 12 minutes. I lightly oiled my egg roll wrappers and baked them instead of deep frying them. Could I have done it on all the outside gear? Sure. But egg rolls do take a lot of time to prepare, chopping up all the ingredients, and getting all the filling created. So I'd done those ahead of time. And they reheated just fine over the fire. They'd been frozen, and then I just reheated them over the fire in a little oven vessel. I don't think makes an appearance in the video. Basically a skillet with an inverted metal pie plate on top of it to create a containment vessel that you can heat up over the fire, like an oven. And that worked fine for reheating the egg rolls. Then there's the big hit, the pork a la Normande. And like the Welsh Rabbit, this was inspired by a recipe I first saw on James Townsend and Sons YouTube channel, a historical recipe dating back to the late 1700s or early 1800s. And it's pork and apples and onions in a cider-based gravy. I cube up the pork, I floured the pork, then we seared it, saute and cook the apples until they become translucent, add the seasoning, which in this case was pepper, salt, and nutmeg. If I were doing this again, I'd use a little less pepper and a little more salt and nutmeg. I think that would probably balance the flavors a bit better. I'm not saying it was bad, I'm just saying I think the balance could have been a bit better. I know Lil very much enjoyed it as it was. So you have to experiment with your seasonings. Add the seasonings to the apples and onions and then pour in your cider. Let that come to a boil and simmer for a little bit. Put the pork back in and cook it for it's about a half an hour or so. It's probably a little more, maybe closer to 40 minutes. And cooked off some of the moisture as you saw, and voila, a fantastic dish. I hope you enjoyed this little dinner outside. It can be a challenge to cook using these methods, especially if you don't do it all that often and you don't consider yourself that good of a cook. But the rewards are also, I think, pretty good, pretty high.